I love this. Okay, well, you should have something popping up on your screen verifying that I asked for your consent to record.
Very fair. And I think I clicked okay.
Okay, perfect. So I don't know how we're going to put this up there. So hi, everybody. Coach Sabrina here, and this is my friend Blake. Say hi, Blake.
Hello.
I am going to be doing a series of interviews with some of the women who I love in my life, who I have been begging to come on in whatever form we can do and share their story with people. So I do have a quick disclaimer. Although these conversations may talk about weight loss, this is not a conversation about weight loss. This is a conversation about movement, community, and a little running, and a lot of hope. We will start where they are now and the role that movement plays in their lives. We may talk about our relationships with fueling our bodies and the motivations for movement and big goals. The weight is in the background for a lot of us and may come up in the conversations of our past. I invite you to listen with an open heart and an open mind. You may hear something that lights a spark in you or that you can use to help inspire someone else you love. So, one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to Blake is because Blake is a very real woman. I met her after this, she had been on this journey, and I met her, and if you saw my story recently, I posted that we met at a park run, literally running next to each other, and it was like, oh, we run at a similar pace, can we be friends? Blake has a job, a family, and responsibilities outside of being an athlete. And my hope is that real women will be able to connect with her story. So I know the you that you are now. I wanted to talk to you because you are real and you represent so much of what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to help with people. I appreciate your heart and your willingness to share with all of us whatever you feel compelled and open to sharing today. Nothing is off limits for me, but you are welcome to skip over topics if something randomly happens to come up in the conversation that you don't want to talk about. Just tell me you don't want to talk about it and we will move on. I love you for doing this. So, you are my friend first and an athlete second, because I only coach you for certain events. The idea for this interview came up when we were on a run and we were talking about some of the ways for me to appeal to more women. We want to remind everyone that they have their own motivation to move, their own day one, and no one gets to define what it looks like for them. Your story is your own and your motivation for sharing is your own. Can you tell us what your current relationship is with exercise and running?
So I found running after losing a lot of weight, and all of my health metrics were looking better, if not great, except my blood pressure was still borderline. And of course, my doctor was thrilled, as all doctors are, when you lose weight from what they would consider a healthy weight, an unhealthy weight. And she essentially said, it would be really great if we could focus on this blood pressure. And I was home alone on New Year's Eve. My husband was traveling, and I just, for some reason, thought to myself, some people run a 5K on Thanksgiving. I wonder if anyone runs a 5K on New Year's Day. And that's where I found myself Googling San Jose New Year's Day running. I found Park Run, who does a special event on New Year's Day. And I had to look at the results from the last several park runs to make sure it wasn't a bunch of people that were going to come out and run an 8 to 10 minute mile. And it wasn't. In fact, I saw people running a 50, 60, 70 minute 5K, which is beyond a 15-minute mile, really beyond a 20-minute mile. And that means people are genuinely walking. So that's where I knew that I wouldn't be the outlier. And that's essentially it. From that first park run, I told myself I was going to run every Saturday with Park Run because I kind of found a group where I felt like I fit in. I liked that they tracked your data, how many times you've been to Park Run, your various finishing times, things like that. And that was kind of my New Year's resolution for 2024. And through running, through meeting people like you who introduced me to other running groups where I could find people that I felt were more like me, I wound up running way more than once a week in 2024 and kind of opened up this journey of learning more about running, learning more about having friends that run, and finding better health, including a better blood pressure, which of course made my doctor very happy.
Would you call running your favorite form of exercise right now?
I mean, yes, but I honestly don't like exercise, and I don't even really like running. Like, that's the thing, is people are like, have you discovered the runner's high? And I'm like, for me, the runner's high is when I could see the finish line and it's almost over. Whether that is a 2-mile run at home, a 5K, or like a 10K. It's literally like there's no point in a longer race where I start feeling this is it. It's so wonderful. But one thing I actually did want to mention, and I don't know if you want to talk about this later, is that running isn't start running and then stop running when the race is over or the distance is achieved. Like for me, running always includes periods of walking, because I'm not going out there on a Tuesday morning and absolutely destroying myself to run, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile, maybe. I'm out there for, a 14-minute mile maybe, and I'm looking to run for around 45 minutes. So for me, that's mixing in some running with walking, which I think makes running so much more accessible to people in general, people who aren't like athletes by nature.
So we'll come back to that. But first, I want to ask, is there a current goal that you're chasing? No pun intended.
My only like firm goal is to stick with it. And this is the type of exercise and the exercise strategy that I have been able to stick with the longest. And it's like not even close. It's like the last time I tried to do any regular form of exercise, we're talking 3, maybe 6 months. And January 1st will be 2 years for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the cusp of my 50th park run, which was essentially been my goal for a long time. I travel a lot, so to go every week isn't accessible to me, but I go pretty much every week that I'm here, if it's not pouring rain. And yeah, it'll be 50 probably in 2 weeks, unless there's a torrential downpour that morning. And then longer goals, like sometimes I think about registering for the Disney World Princess Half Marathon in 2027. And the real reason it's 2027 is because you register for those specific Disney races like 9 months ahead. So everything for 2026 is essentially sold out. It's a good time of year to be running in Orlando. It's in February. And I don't know. I've never run a half. I've run about 8, 10Ks. I know physically I could do them. It wouldn't be a pace challenge. It wouldn't be a time challenge. I think you have a 16-minute mile pace to complete the distance in. And I feel like that's achievable for me.
When you started on January 1st, 2024, did you imagine getting to 50 park runs in 2 years?
No. And honestly, I think that sticking with it, I mean, even for a year, it seemed like so ridiculous, because I just thought life would get in the way, as it always had. And part of that is that I wasn't super motivated. It's kind of cliche, but you get a t-shirt after you get the first 25 park runs. That was very motivating for me. The t-shirt was purple. It's my favorite color. So that helped a lot. And I think more than that, in the end, it was the social component of running that helped me stick through it. And I also never thought I would run a 10K. And I will tell you that I ran Heart and Souls, which I think is like in May or June in Santa Clara. It's at Santa Clara University, and it was a 5K. But it was one of those 5Ks where there's a second lap if you want to do a 10K. And I remember seeing the people turn off to run the second lap and being like, those people are insane. And now I'm one of those insane people. So like I said, like I sometimes I like think back and go, this really is insane. But the thought of even considering a half marathon feels almost more insane, because after a 10K, my body is really done. So the thought of running pretty much 2 10Ks in a single event is kind of insane. But I don't know. Like I said, you can't really see the the future when you start something like this.
So let's go back to your run walk intervals. How were you first introduced to run walk? And you said it's made a big difference for you. Talk a little bit more about that and how it feels for you.
Well, I was first introduced to this idea of run walk like 15 years ago when I was running at an earlier point in my life. And again, that was probably 6 months of running at most. Probably did 4 like timed event 5Ks. And I found intervals through the Couch to 5K program, which I will tell you I never finished. Like the actual,
that's a whole different conversation.
Exactly. Like I am the person who's like, go out, run the first week of Couch to 5K, run the second week of Couch to 5K. If you start struggling in week 3, that is not failure. There are so many alternatives to this strategy. Couch to 5K absolutely takes off too far, too fast.
Absolutely.
For most people. Yeah. But that is essentially how I ran my first ever 5K, was the Couch to 5K intervals. I think it was week 3 because I don't think I ever completed week 4, but I knew that I could run these week 3 intervals and just kept running the same intervals until I finished the distance. And that's what I wound up doing. So when I restarted running in 2024, my first run, I had no intervals. My plan on New Year's Day was to run until I can't run anymore and then walk until I feel like I've caught my breath and things like that. When I came back that second week, I knew I needed to have a plan. And I did. And I just made it up as I went along. I just said, I know that I can run, I don't know, maybe it was only 30 seconds, possibly 45 seconds. But there you go. I was just like, going to run this, we'll call it 30 seconds, walk a minute, and we're just going to do that until we finish. And we did. And then slowly I started building up more running and less walking. Even at my peak, which was probably fall 2024, I was doing like at the most a 3-minute run to a 1-minute walk. For a long time, I was more in the 2-minute run to 1-minute walk interval. But you know, you meet people, you run with people. Sometimes I'll run different intervals, and it's fun to kind of discover what's works and what's not. Like, it's tough for me to cut to 45 seconds of walking, regardless of how much I'm running. A 1-minute walk interval gives me a lot more recovery than a 45-second walk interval.
And with your like most recent races, what is your preferred interval right now?
Right now, I feel like I'm fastest at either 90 seconds walk, 90 seconds run, 60 minutes walk, or 105 seconds run, 60 minutes walk, which sounds weird, but it's literally just adding a quarter of a minute instead of going to the full 2 minutes, which I can do comfortably, but I'm also not having a chat at the same time if I'm going to run that interval. And I like to chat. Can you tell?
So that's one of the things I want to talk about. So the 105-second run, 60-second walk, and your love for chatting and your love for community. Those are what I want to talk about, because we did Shamrock together. And we did the first 5K together because I didn't plan on running the race, but I had a friend that couldn't run. So I ran because I wanted to run the 5K with you. We ran the 5K together, and then you went on to finish the 10K. But because your intervals fit naturally with people's strides, we built a community around you and around your intervals, because people were like, oh, I like this interval. Can we stick with you? And you kept yelling out, run and walk for everybody, and people stuck with you. This last weekend, we did the same thing at Parkrun. You were running out, yelling out, run, walk, and somebody decided that they wanted to run with you because they like their intervals. You literally build a community everywhere you go. And I don't know if you know that about yourself, but that is one of the reasons that we love you, because you have this energy and you attract people through your intervals, but also through your energy. And you said one of the reasons that you've been able to stick with this the longest is the community. So talk a little bit more about that.
You know, I'm a social person, but I'm not an extrovert. It's really interesting because at the end of the day, I absolutely do need to recharge by myself with a book. But I find that getting through difficult things is better with friends. And for me, every 5K is a challenge. It's definitely, even waking up is still a challenge. So I don't know. Honestly, talking to our new friend from last week, or a couple of days ago, yesterday, gosh, time is weird, means that it not only feels like it helped her, but it helped me. It helped me get through the event. It gave me something else to focus on than how many intervals do we have left, or how long is this interval going to be, or, I'm tired. I want to go back to bed. Like, all of these things is like running in events. Like, sometimes I wonder if I'll ever PR at another event, because I have a couple of PRs at events I've done by myself where I absolutely can run faster. But that doesn't mean that I have more fun, and it doesn't mean that I want to do those events more. Like, I meet a lot of people who go, yeah, I'm going to run the Monterey Bay half marathon, and I'm going to try for a PR by 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. And I want that for them. But if I was going to run that Princess half marathon, it would literally be to finish and feel relatively good and have a good time. It wouldn't be about time. It would just be about, I don't know, fun. Like, this would just be cliche. I don't know. That's why I feel like the Disney half is the most approachable for me, because even when things are really hard and my body's really feeling it, I will still have things to look forward to, which is, things to look at the Disney parks, and characters, and just other runners who dress up in really fun costumes and are also like really friendly and approachable.
So I think you're a great cheerleader, which was going to be part of the conversation with the community, and I didn't use that word. But I think that actually would be a good costume for you for your next costume run. I think we should have you running as a cheerleader.
Woo! I mean, certainly when you think of what cheerleaders wear, that kind of suits into the whole what we wear as runners, because some people can run in anything. Like, one of the Disney 10Ks I did was 101 Dalmatians. So naturally I was wearing a white outfit with black spots, but a running outfit that was white with black spots. I was running next to people who were wearing like a Cruella de Vil fur coat. At Beta Breakers, you see people run by and they're wearing like a freaking Tetris block, like
That was my
the
favorite.
L shape or the T shape. And I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, I barely can finish a race wearing the most comfortable, supportive clothing I can find. And these people just turn up in these amazing outfits and still manage to run faster than me, often by a lot. So, yeah, I feel like a cheerleader is very doable. Like, if we ever did another Halloween race.
Okay, I'm putting that down for next year.
Only if you wear the matching outfit, though, because you're just as much of a cheerleader.
Okay. One of the most important messages I try to teach women is to stop chasing their past. So many women want to get back to who they were when they were younger, before they had kids, before they graduated college, etc. You've worked so hard to get where you are today. Is there a you from your past that you go back and talk to? Does she help keep you pushing?
I don't know. It feels like this is unique in the running community, although maybe it's not and people just don't talk about it. But I have been overweight. I was overweight my entire life, morbidly obese for decades. So I don't have this college weight or this high school weight to go back to like some people do. Like, I was 165 pounds at 12 years old and couldn't shop in the junior section for my like bat mitzvah dress, right? Whereas all of the other kids who were getting bar and bat mitzvah that year had these really cute, trendy outfits that wasn't even accessible to me, because there was no such thing as like plus size juniors at that point. Mm-hmm. So like, I feel like I carry a different journey than other women who, were a typical size in high school and college and had the experience of, I don't know, being conventionally attractive is what I would say, which is not something that's my lived experience. So when I go back to my past, I go back to someone who struggled with weight and struggled with health. And I talk to that person and tell them that I can do it, because I have experienced significant regain in the past, and I have lost weight again. And, you don't know what the future holds. And all I do is try to tell myself to keep it up. and know that like the goal doesn't have to be, you know, a 3-hour half marathon. You know, a goal can just be to get out there for 40 minutes twice a week and do something active. And whether that's walking or dancing or, you know, going to a fitness class, lifting weights or running, it's really about finding something that you can do to meet, you know, what your body needs to be reasonably healthy. And the health looks like different for everybody. People with chronic illness, they don't have the same baseline health as someone who's a typical athlete. So I think it's important to talk to your doctor, and if you have, you know, other professionals in your life, about what good goals are and what achievable goals are. Like, that's always been a strategy for me, because I know that for me, just being active 2 or 3 times a week is success.
Love that. One of the things that I ask all my athletes to complete on my intake survey is finish this sentence. When people see me, I wish they knew.
Oh man. If you're asking me that of me right now, I
Yes,
feel
right
like
now.
I should say, when people see me, I wish they knew it's still really hard to wake up at 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday and run, because that's what they see maybe on social media, or other people at Park Run like clearly don't have this problem. Like, people will tell me, "Oh, I'm up anyway." You know, people who I meet at Park Run, they're just like, "I'm an early riser." That is absolutely not me. But the other person who is not me is the running when it's 85 degrees at, you know, 2 p.m., 4 p.m. So like, I have to balance this idea of, if it gets too hot, I won't want to run. So I need to typically run in the morning. And then I also like to run with people. So Park Run starts at 8. You really want to be there at 7:45. And yeah, I mean, it is hard to get out there every day, no matter what time it is, where you are, what you're doing. But the reason I do it is because I worry that if I fall out of the habit of doing it, it will be essentially impossible to get back into it. So I even run on vacation, which is insane. I hate running on the treadmill. When I go to Vegas, between like running around hotels in Vegas, which isn't great, and running in the heat, I run on the treadmill, which is not something I ever thought I would do. But even when I travel, I do try to run outside, and I'll seek out places that either are recommended to me by the hotel themselves, or by other people that have traveled there, or by local runners on like, where's a good place to run 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Speaking of running on vacation, do you want to mention what you happened to do either of the times in Hawaii, the last 2 times you went?
Oh man. So clearly I have this thing of like, I want to do things I've never done before. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, that I physically can do this. I should just do it. So the first thing I did was, I was in Kona when the Ironman championships were run, and they have a fundraiser run called the Underpants Run, where everybody runs, you know, in their underwear or their version of underwear. There's no policing of underwear. But it was a little intimidating, because you imagine yourself running among all of these Ironman athletes in their underwear. And it's actually obviously much more inclusive than that, because the athletes bring all of their friends and family, and there are lots of locals that do this as well. But I went out there, and I'm a relatively like modest person. Like, I'm not one to run in a sports bra like on any normal day. And I've actually never run in a sports bra before, but I ran in a sports bra and a bikini bottom. And the whole thing was like 1.5 miles at most. And it's a fundraiser, but it's also clearly a big PR event, because they would stop the entire run and like take photos of people and run like a drone above us. So it was like, run for a 1/2 mile, and then the entire event like kind of randomly stops, and then run for a 1/2 mile. It's like, I wasn't even running intervals, because like the whole thing was like very slow. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of like, hey, I can do this. I'm glad I did that. I won't do it again, because it's waking up really, really early because of the challenge of parking near the Ironman Village.
Oh yeah.
Only to run a mile and a half was a little bit low on the ROI for me. So now that I've done it, we're going to just say check, and that's off the list. The other thing that I will do again, which is something that I've wanted to do for a while, is I did a swim run duathlon where I swam 400 meters and then ran like 2.5 miles. And I don't like running wet, which is why I really don't run in the rain. But I swam in a sports bra and a bikini bottom, and then I dried off as best as I can, and then I put on shorts and a tank top and shoes, and then ran. And in my head, I thought all of this water is going to pool into my shoes and I'm going to be miserable. It didn't actually happen. So that was a really big bonus. I still don't love running wet. Like, obviously your butt is wet. It has to be at this point. But overall, it was a good experience, but it was a better experience because another woman I had met at a non-running event showed up because I told her to show up. And then I had no idea she was going to be there. And I just was so surprised because you invite people to do things with you. And I would say at best, there's like a 50% success rate that they turn up, and that's fine, right? So I really wasn't expecting her or anyone because I invited like 6 people and someone turned up and she ran with me, which was wonderful. She's typically probably a 10 to 12 minute mile, but she's also training to run the Honolulu Marathon. So her 10 to 12 minute mile is 12, 14, 16 miles on a long run. So, you know, according to her, this was a really nice opportunity to run at a little bit slower of a pace with me. So we had a good time. And like I said, it was distracting from how terrible it is to run in a wet, essentially sports bra and underwear.
But again, you have this magnetic personality, you build a community, and this person showed up and you had an amazing experience. So I kind of feel like you've already touched on this, but you know, my mission is to help women get moving in whatever way works for them. If you could share some small piece of advice with a woman debating getting started, what would you say?
This is really cliche, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I mean, getting out there on New Year's Day, no idea what to expect, didn't even have a real pair of running shoes. Like, that was the hardest part for me. And it does get easier. It never gets easy. At least it never did for me. And like we talked about, it's still hard to wake up in the morning and push yourself out of bed. But if running is not a goal of yours, that is okay. If walking for 20 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week is success to you, that's a success that I would celebrate. And I know that you would celebrate too, because it's all about like who we are as individuals and where we are now. And I don't know, I just feel like you're a great coach for somebody who is at a 0 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10, because we don't look ahead and say, well, how long will it take to be a 10 out of 10 athlete? It's really just about what's our plan for this week, which is something that you and I talk about all the time. What does the next 7 to 10 days look like? And make sure that we're getting in our goals for the next 7 to 10 days, which for you is running a freaking marathon. And for me is getting out of bed and being active 2 or 3 days a week. But, you know, like I said, you have the whole range here and there's no expectation. The expectations we put on ourselves are so much more than the expectations of anyone else, because there's this another cliche in the running community of like, what's the average pace for a 5K? What's the average pace for a 10K? There is no average pace because the average, you know, American is not running at these distances. Amen. So to just get out there and walk, whether it's for 10 minutes or an hour, is beating everybody who's on the couch. And that's what I tell myself all the time, because I do finish at the end of races. At the end being like, you know, there's obviously a chunk of people that finish a 5K between, let's say, 25 and 35 minutes. And that's not me. But guess what? I'm faster than everyone that's still in bed, including my husband. So there you go.
I have one question I want to finish with, but I feel like we would be amiss if we didn't talk about one of your hobbies, back to the water. that just makes you, to me, an exceptional person. But to you, you just talk about it like it's, completely normal. Let's talk about scuba diving real quick. Just because of the fact that, again, it goes back to your magnetic personality. You talked to Rebecca and her son about it. You helped him want to come to Run Group because then that meant he got to talk to you about scuba diving. But let's just talk a little bit about your scuba diving and what your increased endurance has done to change your scuba diving, or if it hasn't changed it at all, or, how you feel like that, because that is a good passion of yours, right? You travel
Yeah.
to different countries to do that. Do you feel like that has been changed at all by your endurance or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's probably, endurance is probably not the right word to use. And that, obviously totally reasonable to go to that. But like, it's going to be like either cardio health or like just breathing. I don't know, pulmonology. Like essentially, when you're scuba diving, you are limited to the amount of air in your tank. And a typical tank will last somewhere between 40 minutes, even 30 minutes, because obviously there's a range, but we'll say for an average diver, 40 minutes to 80 minutes.
Okay.
And that's just based on how much air and how quickly you breathe it in a given amount of time. And a lot of air consumption is based on like comfort in the water. So like when you're a beginner scuba diver, you use air faster. And when you're experienced and everything is a lot more relaxing, then you use it slower. But I can see since starting diving that even from, I don't think that my like relaxation has changed or anything but that. I think that my body is using air differently.
Okay.
When you think about the biology of how much air you need, how much oxygen your red blood cells need to essentially power your body. And I never used to outbreathe my husband. And now I essentially do almost every dive, outbreathe my husband. The other cool thing is that my husband and I both outbreathe at least half of the dive masters we dive with. So now we've run into kind of like a frustrating thing of if we're diving with a dive master, usually that's off a boat or to see a very specific dive site that we're not familiar with. We are now not limited to our air consumption. We're limited to the air consumption of the dive master, which is kind of cool. Because I'll tell you that when you're a new scuba diver and you're diving shorter dives because you use your air faster, you always wind up at some point in the situation where you're back on the boat. And then 20 minutes later, other people come back on the boat and they're all talking about, oh my God, did you see that eagle ray? Or like, oh my God, did you see that turtle, that octopus? But that's things that you didn't get to see because your dive was shorter. So there is something about feeling like that's probably not going to happen to me again. And I think part of that is just like we talked about, it's not all about cardio health. A lot of it's about comfort underwater and being able to be relaxed and not breathe as much as other people. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have been scuba diving since 2009. I love the water and I've always been a boat person and I've always been a strong swimmer. And yeah, so it was very natural when my husband and I were on vacation and we had the opportunity to like try scuba diving that we both jumped in. And my husband took to it, this idea of like, when you're more relaxed, you use less air. He picked up on that much quicker. And it took me at like maybe 100 dives to get into this really like almost meditative state. And yeah, everyone is different. I mean, just like I would encourage anyone to get out there and walk or run, I would encourage anyone to get out there and try scuba diving. Go into a pool first. Some shops will like pressure you that you don't need the pool, that they can do it in like essentially like a shallow area of water, like natural body of water. I always tell people I think you should go to the pool first. But I love diving. And Rebecca's son, I've had so many interesting interactions underwater that I know that he would get a kick out of since I've seen him, that I'm hoping he and I will both turn up at Rumble Run Club sometime soon.
Nice, nice. And yes, a lot of runners are out there chasing their VO2 max and trying to learn how to, push oxygen better. And I think it's going to help you, snorkel. And I've snorkeled, I haven't scuba, but it's one of those things on my bucket list. Okay. So our final question is, do you have a big scary goal for the future besides Disney Princess Race? Is there something else that you have that you're contemplating, you haven't quite said out loud, or is Disney Princess the biggest, scariest goal right now?
I mean, I wouldn't even call some of these things goals, because like if they're never achieved, that's not anything to me.
Okay.
But like at the Paris Olympics, they ran a 10K and maybe a half, like for the public on the Olympic marathon course. So since that happened, I've always thought, hey, if they did that in LA, I would love a chance to do it. But obviously, I think that the LA Olympics is going to have different security concerns than Paris. I have no idea. And then there's going to be a big lottery where it's like every runner that can reasonably get to the LA area is going to want to be in on that course. So
put yourself down to be a volunteer. Maybe it'll get us on the list sooner.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. And then the other kind of thing that I wonder if I'll ever get to is that there are park runs in 22 countries. There are 20 of them that I think are somewhat reasonably accessible, and 2 that are like, I don't know, kind of remote. But little by little, as I travel while I'm still running, I find myself wanting to seek out a park run. So in December, I'm assuming weather is decent and I'm not injured, I will run in Japan at a Japanese park run. So that will be my 3rd country, because I ran in Singapore last year. And it wouldn't surprise me if I was able to tally up a few countries, on my next trip to Europe. So we will see. But like, it's really common for park runners to want to achieve these like kind of funky milestones. I like meeting people. I like traveling. So like it's fun to go to events in different areas, even within the US. So I sometimes think to myself, how many countries can I get? Do I think it'll be 22? No. Could someday maybe I get to 20? Possibly. So yeah.
I love that. This has been so much fun. Do you have anything else you want to say that we didn't touch on?
No, just that your friendship to me has been so incredibly valuable, that when you think of people's impacts on your life, you have genuinely had like a larger measurable impact than like the vast majority of people that I interact with on a daily basis that I have known for much longer. Because it's easy to be friends with people who do the same things that you do. So when you have a little bit more of a like, couch potato lifestyle, I think that often we find ourselves with other couch potato friends. But the fact that I met you at like kind of a interesting point in my life where I was trying to be more active, and being more active is easier with you in my life. So there you go. And I hope that when you tell people like me that, oh my gosh, you create a community, that you don't overlook the community that you have created. Because I can talk to people while I run and distract myself and distract them from the running. But like the long-term impact you have on people is very measurable. And I think that's really, amazing, and something that I look up to. So keep at it.
Thank you. Community is one of my values. And I think that's why you and I get along so well, because it does come easier to us. And when we have people that we enjoy spending time with who can get us out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, it does make things a lot easier. So thank you for being my friend.
Not only 6 o'clock in the morning, some of these people are like, are you going to do Dirty Dozen? Like our next year, you are, right? And like, yes. Come on, what is that, 2 hours away? And it starts at like, doesn't it start at like 7 o'clock in the morning? So we're essentially waking up in the middle of the night to drive somewhere to run for 12 hours. Like it just, that if you were to pull a random person off the street and be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing. I'm still, the thought of waking up in the middle of the night to go do that is incredible. But there you go. Like I would only go because you are going, because Kari is going, like, because there are going to be people there to distract me from the insanity of what we're actually doing as we run these like crazy laps. So we'll see. But yeah, like it's not limited to 6:30 on a Saturday. That's just the typical one. Then various times of the year, you're running the Disney half marathon. You are going to be in the corral at 4 a.m. So you better stay somewhere relatively close.
Don't tell my brain that. It's a secret.
So there you go. Like I said, it's like if only 6:30 were the worst part of it, that's just the worst typical regular weekly thing we do. You have these events where it's like, yeah, like to go to my Disney races, I woke up at 3:15, and I was walking distance from the corral. So, you know, the journey. We all have to have a good sense of humor, be proud of ourselves, be proud of our friends.
Thank you. Thank you for being a crazy friend in my community and in my circle.
A crazy friend that, like, you know, that influences you and you influence me to have a healthier, longer, more active life. Like, it's such a cool thing because it's not something that I ever had before.
Hashtag positive peer pressure.
Yeah, we do crazy things.
On that, I'm going to hit stop.